broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tampa City Council evening meeting. Sorry for the delay. We just had a technical issue. Roll call, please.
Carlson, Hurtak. Here. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Here. Miranda. Here. Maniscalco.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
All right, and I have a memo received from Councilmember Carlson's office. He will not be attending this evening's meeting because he is out of town. And then we have a few continuances and withdrawals. So, Mr. Collins, do you want to go over the agenda?
Sure. Danny Collins with the Planning Commission staff. Just a few housekeeping items. Item 3 on your agenda. This is
TACPA 2402. It's for multiple parcels that are generally located at the southeast corner of Columbus Drive and North Florida Avenue. The applicant has submitted an email and they are asking to continue the item to the August 8th Tampa City Council hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion to continue from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Miranda.
Date, time, and place.
All right, it's going to be continued to August 8th, 2024, 5:01 p.m., 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602, third floor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And that was just to continue the item. Yes, sir?
Our next item is item 5. It's TACPA 23-18. It's for the property located at the northeast corner of East Fletcher Avenue and North 46th Street. The applicant is requesting to withdraw this amendment.
Move to allow withdrawal.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda to withdraw, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Shelby, did you want to say something?
There are two items requested to be walk-on, one of which you've received. Let's do the one, actually, I see Mr. Vasky standing up. One of which, the first, we discussed earlier today at the workshop. Mr. Vasky.
Justin Vasky, Legal Department. Good evening. I'm here to walk on a resolution calling for a special call meeting to conduct a public hearing to adopt a project list to be funded by the renewal of the half-cent local government infrastructure surtax for community investment and to approve an interlocal agreement related thereto. The meeting will take place on June 13th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at City Council Chambers. That is all.
second.
All right, we have a motion. Who was the motion maker? Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilman Vieira. Yes, sir?
I apologize. What was that date again?
June 13th.
June 13th, 2024 at 11 a.m.
Okay, yep, Thursday. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's the item.
All right. I have the resolution here, so we'll just hold it until then.
No, just move the resolution and sign it. Why don't we have it signed tonight?
Yeah, I'll sign it. All right, can I get a motion to move this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okie dokie. Anything else, sir?
No, thank you.
I have it right here. Look at this beautiful signature. Justin.
Be able to pick it up.
All right, and there was another item, sir?
Yes, if you, Ms. Johnson-Velez, thank you. Council, you'd received a memo from her on this.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Good evening, Council. Susan Johnson-Velez, Legal Department. This item is a request to walk on a resolution to set a public hearing for a notification of proposed change to the Hidden River DRI project. The request is to set the public hearing for June 13th, 2021 at 5:01. It is related to a rezoning that will also be heard that evening.
We have a motion from Councilman Miranda. We have a second from Councilman Vieira. Any discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that
Thank you.
is set. Okay, we'll begin with the agenda, item number 1. Yes, ma'am.
Item number 1. Good afternoon, Michelle Boone, Housing and Community Development. I should have a corresponding PowerPoint.
Yep,
Let's hope so.
there we go.
Thank you so much. So the reason that I am here tonight is to explain kind of our process for a substantial amendment to our PY 23 fiscal year 24 action plan. As you know, can I click through? There we go. We're going to talk about some proposed changes to the action plan, the reason for the action plan changes, reallocation of funds, and some addition of some other projects and programs that were not previously included in the plan. The next step is public input. Tonight is a public hearing that the public will have an opportunity to speak on the plan if they so choose. and it will also be open for public comment for 30 days. So as you know, you approved the action plan in the August 3rd meeting of 2023. This allowed for us to allocate funds for our federal programs and only the federal programs, CDBG, Home, ESG, and HOPWA. So what we are proposing today is to amend the plan to reallocate some program income that we received, reallocate funds to different programs in the CDBG and home programs to support multifamily preservation and new construction. And then also same for home funds to allocate program income and to add additional programs such as new construction and multifamily rehab. These are the proposed amounts. We do have some outstanding funds from PY17 all the way up to program year 23 that we would like to reallocate to these activities that are noted. Total CDBG is in the amount of $3,716,416, and same for home, approximately $3.1 million. The next slide is some of the proposed activities and outcomes that we propose in the amended plan, including some single-family owner-occupied rehab as matched to our Healthy Homes program, multifamily rental rehab, and multifamily new construction, as well as some public facility programs and any infrastructure programs that we might want to fund. So our draft plan was available on our city website. It's all still there and available for the next 30 days for public comment. I do have a copy for the clerk, as well as we have a copy in our office and is also posted on our website. You should all hopefully have a copy in your supportive documents if you so choose to read through all of the changes. There's a public hearing today, 30-day public comment period, and then we will submit it to HUD after that in June 25th. That is all the information that I have, if you have any questions.
Any questions? No? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick question about the funds that we're holding back from like 2017. Were those the funds that were re-brought back that we had that basically every time we get them back, we have a smaller place we can use them?
Yes, that's correct. And
Oh,
then we
that's
have
wonderful.
to formally reallocate our
Okay.
program income in order to spend it again.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I know how hard you all worked on trying to get that done, so
We're required to
congratulations.
do this just for your benefit. From HUD, it's a requirement to any substantial changes in reallocation of funds over 10% or the addition of programs.
All right. Sir?
Move for the allocation
Second. We have a motion from
of
Councilmember.
$3 million, let me say so that $3,716,416 in the CDBG funds and $3,163,884 in the home project.
Did we need that motion?
No,
No.
you're moving to approve the
What is it?
transmission of the plan to HUD.
Okay, so move to transmit it to HUD. All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye.
Does any future date need to be announced?
No future dates. Once the 30-day public comment period is over, we will submit it to HUD.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is item number 2. If we have someone here, okay. All right, Mr. Collins, go ahead.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. So we received an email from the applicant just now that they wish to continue to the June 27th hearing. And I don't believe the applicant is here.
How does the June 27th calendar look? Is it-
We coordinated earlier in the week with
So there's plenty
staff,
of space?
and there is room on the agenda for.
Okay. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on the continuance only? This will be heard June 27th at 5:01 PM here at City Hall.
Second.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion to continue this item from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilman Vieira, to June 27th, 2024, 5:01 PM, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602, third floor, which is this room. All in favor of the continuance? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Item number 3 we took care of, so we go to item number 4. Yes, sir.
This is Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. Today I'll be presenting TA CPA 2407. It's a map amendment for the Memorial Park Cemetery. Just a quick background. This site was acquired by the city back in 2023. More recently, I believe it was earlier this year, it was added to the city's cemetery park list, and it also received a local historic designation for the site. As such, the city's planning staff is initiating this amendment. It's publicly initiated, small scale in size, and the site's approximately 18.84 acres. The request is to change the future land use from the community commercial 35 and public semi-public designation to the recreation open space category. Here is the aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. As you can see, the subject site is at the southeast corner of North 22nd Street and MLK. There are primarily non-residential uses located along MLK. There are residential uses to the east and south of the site. And then we have Cyrus Green Park, which is a city park directly to the west of the site. And then also there is a City of Tampa police station just to the southwest of the subject site. The subject site's located in the central Tampa Planning District. It's within East Tampa Urban Village, and it's within the College Hill Belmont Heights neighborhood. Here is an image of the subject site looking north from Belmont Estates Avenue. This is another image looking south of the site from MLK. This is looking west at the subject site from North 22nd Street. And here is the adopted future land use map. As you can see by this blue color, a majority of the subject site, just over 15 acres, is recognized under the public, semi-public designation. And then we have this red northern strip along the northern side of the property is recognized under the community commercial 35 category. That community commercial 35 is primarily found along this segment of MLK. To the east of the subject site, we have properties recognized under the residential 20, and then to the south, we have properties recognized under the R35 designation. And then Cyrus Green Park, directly to the west of the subject site, is recognized under the recreation open space category. Here is the proposed future land use map, recognizing the site under the recreation open space category. So currently on the subject site, though it is a cemetery, the land use would allow potentially up to 105 dwelling units, or just over 263,000 square feet of residential or non-residential uses. As proposed under the recreation open space category, it would remove any potential of residential or non-residential development on the subject site. So essentially this is limiting the site to open space and recreation uses, essentially adding additional protections to the cemetery. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request, and the Planning Commission agreed as well and found it consistent with a number of policies in the comprehensive plan, specifically as consistent with policies with promoting recreation and open space opportunities throughout the city. It was consistent with policies that seek to preserve Tampa's historical resources. Again, this site received a historical designation earlier in this year. And then finally, the request was consistent with protecting city-owned cemeteries. The recreation and open space category is the most appropriate land use category for city-owned cemeteries in the city, as adopted by the comprehensive plan. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we have a few folks from the city staff here to who's available to answer questions too.
So this is just to protect the cemetery from any future development?
Yes, it's just removing any,
Yeah, so there's no question, and is now open space and designated, so there's no threat of anything.
right?
Any questions or comments? Nope. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on item number 4?
Second.
We have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Vieira, would you mind reading item number 4? Sure.
I move an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 2425 East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, AKA Memorial Park Cemetery, from public, semi-public, and community commercial 35 to recreational open space, providing for repeal of all ordinance and conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty, we're going to go into our public hearings that are quasi-judicial. If you are going to be speaking on items 6, 7, 8, or 9, please stand, raise your right hand, and we will swear you in. We have no registered speakers, so it's everybody in the room.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. 6.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. I have been sworn. Here on behalf of LaShawn Dock, who decided to take the day off. She asked before, she said to me, can I have off Thursday? I said, sure. She's like, oh, by the way, it's an alcohol night. So she told me that after the fact. But so this first case tonight is AB 223-30 for a property at 1500 West Cass Street. It's zone plan development. You can see it sitting on the property there. The approval for the PD was for retail sales, restaurant, and business professional office. The request before you tonight is for consumption on premise only in a small venue. I believe the agenda has consumption on and off premise, but it's only for consumption on premise. Total request is for 5,623 square feet of alcohol sales. Is it upside down? I should know better. This is the property in question. They're proposing to, this is the entire site, but it's outlined in red. The majority of the property, 4,093 square feet, which is the building, is proposed for indoor seating, and this is the proposed outdoor seating. The applicant is seeking a waiver from 31 spaces to 8 parking spaces. The PD zoning actually waived it from 31 down to 10, so they're asking for an additional 2 parking spaces to be waived through the special use for the alcohol. The property is located in the mixed-use corridor, the West Tampa Urban Village, and the West Tampa Overlay District. Staff found the request inconsistent. There's only one waiver, which is the reduction in the 2 additional parking spaces. And there are some corrections that need to be made to the site plan that are on page 3 of the staff report. I don't know if council wants me to read those into the record. The applicant is aware of the request for the additional changes to be made to the staff report.
Mr. Shelby?
The clerk has reminded me that we did not have a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, may I have a motion to open all the public hearings? We have a motion, Councilmember Hurtak, second Councilmember Henderson, all in favor?
As they say in the law, we're doing this nunc pro tunc. So there you go.
Give her a raise.
Just some photos of the site. It's an existing building. It's on West Tampa, like I said, on the south side of Cass. This is the back of the building. Just some additional photos. This is the property looking west down Cass. This is what's across the street on the north side. It looks like an old warehouse. And then if you go down east down Cass, you'll start going into some of the residential and residential office developments. Council, have any questions I can try to answer for you?
Any questions for Mr. Cotton at this time? Nope. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Council. For the record, my name is Julia Mandel with the law firm of Gray Robinson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 4000, Tampa, Florida. I'm going to pass out some documents. I was not able to get the PowerPoint done on time, so I'm doing this old school. Again, my name is Julia Mandel, and I'm here on behalf of the owners of NoHo Junction, which is an existing food hall at the location as described by staff. It's Tapini Demrong Wata, I'm going to butcher this, and I apologize, Wataanska and her husband Randall Knowles. Just by way of background, they have been in the area for a long time, and they have been the owner-operators of the Royal Palace Thai for the last 25 years and have worked to open this restaurant over the last several years and are seeking, as staff described, to add beer, wine, and liquor so that they can add craft cocktails, beer and wine to their already established food hall, which currently has a variety of different food options such as Asian fusion, burgers, pizza, barbecue, ice cream, and waffles. So I'll just go through my presentation very quickly. Very old school. Staff had already shown some of the site photos, but as I said, this is an existing use. They have been open for quite some time and have been operating their food hall in this location. The site plan for this location was approved in 2014, and I think in terms of the most meaningful aspect of that approval was it did waive the parking from 31 spaces to 10 spaces as part of that approval in 2014. And I believe staff showed this. This is the existing site plan. This is the proposed AB site plan, which shows the indoor area of the one-story building, and then a proposed outdoor area for which they would have an opportunity, which they would need to build. They don't have that right now, but allow them to go ahead and have the opportunity to have some outdoor seating as well as the indoor seating area. This application, as I said, is an existing use. It's operating right now. They serve food, and they have been serving food for quite some time. The request is for a small venue application, alcohol beverage for what is really a restaurant use. The AB classification they're looking for is beer, wine, and liquor with consumption on premises only. And I did make sure with staff that we were all on the same page on that, and I believe that has been corrected in terms of the ordinance. And there's really only one waiver that they're asking for, and that is going down from 10 spaces to 8 spaces. But I will note, and I think this is very important, that this particular area, and you can also see it in the pictures, is on Cash Street. It has the green spine running directly in front of it, and I went out there and counted, and between Rome and Willow, which is directly in front of the site, there is approximately 30 on-street parkings, and that's just in front. If you go to the side streets, there's a lot of already placed in on-street parking, and if any of you are familiar with this area, it has a lot of multifamily uses, businesses and offices, and so it really is part of our urban core. I have a couple just extra pictures that I took. You can see the green spine that runs directly in front of the restaurant, the on-street parking, and it goes all the way down. And I was there during the day, and it wasn't particularly filled, and I'm sure at night it might get a little bit more filled, but there's already opportunities to have this be a walkable area. So this really is an area that would call for an additional parking waiver of the 2 spots. As I've said, we have applicants who have been in the area for a long time. They have run restaurants, they have been good community members, and have really added to our community fabric, and would ask for your approval, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Councilman Pendel?
Ms. Mendel, it's good to see you. You too. The outdoor area, concerned about amplified music. We have a note on the site plan about restrictions about amplified sound in the outside area?
We did not put a specific note as it relates to that, but certainly if that's the desire of council, there's no intent to have that be an area for music. It is really just an area for additional seating, especially when it's nice outside. So if that's the desire of council, I can double check with my clients, but I don't think they'd have a problem with that.
I mean, I can't speak for council as a whole, but for me, it would be my concern, especially as we're adding towards the end and knowing we've got housing to the side there, that, and God knows what's going to come next around it, because it is a fast-growing area. The parking issue is not as big of a concern for me, because I agree with you. It's a walking area. It's turning into an urban core kind of area. So, but I would be concerned. I don't want to necessarily impede the neighbors with outdoor amplified sound.
And certainly I'm willing and prepared to go have that conversation with my clients, but I have talked to them, and they have no desire to have outdoor music in this establishment at all, so I don't think that would be an issue.
Anybody else? All right. Mr. Shelby?
Ms. Mandel, that would have to be as part of the motion between first and second reading. So if you could, I don't know if you want to talk to your clients now, or you just want to make an assertion as to have that as part of the motion.
Certainly, as long as I have consent of my clients, I would absolutely request that's a
Okay, maybe
condition added.
maybe you'll have that by rebuttal?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
thank
gonna
you.
have it
All
in
right.
2 seconds.
Councilmember Hurtak.
I just wanted to clarify, what,
No outdoor employment.
it's a period, like none? Okay.
Because it's such a narrow, small area.
Okay,
and it's-
yeah.
Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? This is item number 6. There is nobody. I'll give Ms. Mandel a moment to confer with her clients.
I have conferred with my client, and they absolutely don't have a problem with adding that as a condition, and we'll add that between first and second reading.
Motion to close from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Henderson? Thank you very much.
File number AB 22330, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance approving the special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption, on premises and package sales, off-premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1500 West Cass Street, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember
With
Miranda.
the,
With the
the
addition of the noise.
of the noise consideration.
Just a correction, it's only on premise. They do not want to have package sales.
What does it say?
So that was a correction I made at the very beginning of the meeting. I don't think I got onto
Is the title corrected? Do we know if the title is corrected?
No, but.
Will the title be a substitute between first and second, by second reading?
Yeah, no package sales. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's
don't
what
say
it
that,
Is that a problem?
delete package sales.
Yes.
On
Just for consumption on
premise.
premise only.
All right.
But, okay, but take off the, package sales and off-premise consumption.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could just reread it without that line and with the condition,
Sure.
please.
But
Yes.
AB 22330, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1500 West Cass Street, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
We have a second from Councilmember Clement.
Including the inclusion of the noise
No amplified-
restriction requirements.
No
No
amplified music.
amplified sound.
No amplified sound.
All right, we have a motion and a
And
second.
other,
And other noise.
no other
Just be quiet.
notification.
there were other changes that are noted in the staff report. The applicant's aware.
Yes, and she agreed to it on the record. I
Eat your
heard that.
food, drink your liquor, and go home.
And put that in the stack. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Second reading.
Yes,
Thank you.
Second reading and adoption will be held on June 20th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. located at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Item 7.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination, I have been sworn. Second case on the agenda for alcohol is AB 224-05 for property located at 1905 West Kennedy Boulevard. Current zoning of the property is CG Commercial General. Request is for a small venue for consumption on-premise and package sales off-premise for beer and wine. Total alcohol sales is approximately 1,741 square feet with no outdoor seating area. This is on Kennedy. You can see highlighted Kennedy and Fremont. This is Fremont running north-south. This is kind of north side of Kennedy. It's an existing smoke shop. Let's see, let me split this out a little bit. So again, they're asking for hours of operation will not be per Chapter 14. It's actually from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. The property is located in a mixed-use corridor and in the Kennedy Overlay District. Staff finds the request to be consistent with the City of Tampa Code. There are two waivers, inconsistent, there's two waivers being requested. One is to reduce this required separation from 250 feet to 83 feet for residential development, and for other alcoholic beverages from establishments from 250 feet to 111 feet. There are minor changes that need to be made between on the site plan, as noted on page 3 of the staff report. The applicant's aware of the changes and would have to make those between first and second reading. I do have some photos of the business. I'll just go through them real quick. This is the front looking at the site from Kennedy. This is the side of the property. Again, this is the side, although it looks like the way Kennedy is the lot's long and narrow. So although Kennedy is over here, this is by all means almost the front of the structure itself. This is east of the site, which is a vacant lot. This is the south. This is on the south side of Kennedy, and this is the property west of the site. Council, have any questions?
Let me ask you a question, just from my
Yes,
own
sir.
curiosity. Is this an old building that's just been stuccoed over the years?
I believe so. I don't think it's not a new. I don't believe it's new construction.
Yeah. No, I was just curious. It's unusual because it's in the other direction, you know, not just
Correct.
front facing
I
Kennedy.
mean, it's a very narrow lot, so you know, if you tried to build this way, you would.
Yeah, it's
Have
very,
nothing.
yeah. It was just unusual for Kennedy, but I was always interested. All right. Any other questions or comments? Do we have the applicant here for item number 7? Yes, sir. Come on up. Please state your name.
My name is Eric Hendra, Hendra Associates, 5028 West Longfellow. I have been sworn in. I'm here to represent the site. Mr. Cotton has directed a pretty good presentation of all the things that I would ever say. So I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Nope. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 7?
Or close.
We have a motion to
Second.
close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, 7.
Thank you.
It's an ordinance being presented for first reading and consideration, an ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise and package sales, off-premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from a certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1905 West Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are appealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember
Including the
Miranda.
revision sheet.
Including the revision sheet.
Is that a-
What was going on over there? I couldn't tell. When I was reading that.
They were leaving.
They were leaving and I
back.
wanted to have them
I'm
stay.
reading, I'm trying to think, what is going on over there?
No,
that I'm
they
missing?
needed to hear the second reading date.
Gotcha, okay, very good, okay.
Well, we know why, you can see.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Second reading and adoption will be held on June 20th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. located at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
I'm not paranoid if you really are talking about it.
All right, Mr. Cotton, item number 8.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination. I have been sworn. This is case AB 22406 for property. Series of addresses 1509, 1511, 1529 North A Street and 1528 West North B Street. You can see the property highlighted. It's this entire site, but the alcohol is what's shown in blue. Request again is for a small venue for consumption on premise and for package sales off premise of beer, wine, and liquor. Total alcohol sales area is approximately 11,676 square feet with 6,344 square feet indoors and approximately 5,332 square feet outdoors. The applicant is requesting hours of operation to be consistent with Chapter 14. The property is located within a mixed-use category. I'll just show you the site plan real quick because this will get to some of the waivers that they're going to be asking for. So the applicant is asking for 5 different waivers. The first is the separation distance from residential from 250 to 44 feet, from other alcoholic beverages from 250 to 160 feet, a reduction in the required number of parking spaces from 87 to 45, and to allow more than 50% of the drive aisles to be unpaved, which as you can see, this is proposed to be grass. or unpaved area, and to allow access onto a local street that has a great distance greater than 150 linear feet. The distance from Rome back to where their access is 180 feet. Again, there are some changes that are noted on this that need to be done to the site plan between first and second reading. As on page 3 of the staff report, the applicant is aware of the needed changes. Again, I do have some photos to show. So this is looking at the property from North A. Maybe blow this up a little bit. This is from the location looking down North A. This is the Walmart. This is out the south side Walmart neighborhood center. This is west of the site. And this is on the other side of Rome. Existing warehouse. Again, this is the site of this is a portion of the property on North B Street. Again, looking at the site from North B. And then this is the east part of the site, still on North B, but you can see the AB sign or new larger yellow signs. Now this is the east end of the site. And as you go east of the site down North B Street, you'll start seeing some residential development. Council have any questions I'd like to try to answer for y'all?
Council have questions? Councilwoman Hurtak.
No, I'll wait for
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there an applicant?
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening. Colin Rice here for the applicant. Eric, do you want your... Let's have some, just like my mentor, Miss Mandel, I have some paper slides. All right, so good evening again. My name is Colin Rice with the law firm of Older Lundy, 1000 West Cass Street, here on behalf of Travis and Roxana Kaiser and their business partner, Andrew Rendueles, with us this evening in the rear. The Kaiser family tonight is looking to expand off their first endeavor and community anchor, Santoro's Pizza on Cass Street, opened in 2021, and named after their first child. So tonight we're thrilled to introduce you to Giancarlo's, their second concept on West North B, named after their second child. So the specific request is for a small venue restaurant, beer, wine, liquor, consumption on premises, package sales, consumption off premises. This is proposed for an existing structure that has been there since 1961. So to orient you, we are just off of East Rome Avenue between West North A and B Streets. The restaurant will front North B with the shared parking area off of North A. The site is less than 1 mile from downtown, less than 1,000 feet from University of Tampa, and 500 feet from Kennedy Boulevard. We're not in any overlay district. Zooming in on the overall site, there are 4 tenant spaces with a shared parking configuration, which I'll show you on the site plan here shortly. They include warehouse, office, and a space formerly occupied as a gym that is now vacant. Along North A, this is the area proposed for the off-street parking. Giancarlo's restaurant space is here. The site is zoned industrial general, which is eligible for this special use, industrial general. A portion of the parking area is zoned commercial neighborhood, appropriate for this request. There's IG to the south and west, PD to the north, RS50 to the northeast. Our future land use designation is general mixed use 24. CMU 24 exists to the east and south, R20 to the east, and CMU 35 to the north. A couple of additional photos. The shows a vacant industrial site that needs a little bit of love. So the top photo is from North B, looking at what would be the front of the Giancarlo space, facing south. The lower photo is facing west along North A. This is the proposed parking area. Now to the site plan. So our space is shaded here in red. Building A is the primary food hall and restaurant. Building B is proposed as a bagel shop. And then the lighter pinkish red is the outdoor area. This will primarily feature family-friendly gathering space, things like bocce or giant Jenga. There's a dearth of family-friendly space in North Hyde Park. This is one of the refrains we had gotten from the community as well. John Carlos is excited to meet that need. So again, the parking area is proposed here along North A. There's direct access to John Carlos via this internal sidewalk. And again, shared parking area of 4 tenants. So the overall indoor area is 6,300 square feet, outdoors 5,300, for a total of 11,600 square feet. So now to the core of the business, some renderings of John Carlos. Again, a restaurant concept aiming to look to be another community anchor for this part of North Hyde Park, much in the way that Centaurus has been on Cass Street. Above is the main dining area with the bar area, and below is the outdoor space, showing what's proposed as the bagel shop here. More renderings is the interior of the bagel shop, and then more of the outdoor space in front of the restaurant area. So as Mr. Cotton had alluded, there are a number of waivers we're seeking tonight. This is an older site. We need to be a little bit creative and flexible, and we're asking for your understanding and support on these waivers, which I'll go into briefly, and I'm, of course, happy to answer any questions on these. So we recognize that we're close to residential. We have broad community support, which I'll get into later. So we're actually a block away from the urban village, which wouldn't have required this waiver, but we are requesting that. 2 is the AB sales distance separation. The Walmart grocery to the south is within 250 feet of our site. We'll need a waiver from that. So waiver 3, the parking, going from 87 to 45 to 48% parking waiver. So while we do have a 30,000 square foot chunk of land allocated for parking, due to the drive aisle widths, backup distances, required buffers, internal sidewalk connectivity, we sat with the engineer for a great deal of time to see if we could add another row of parking. From an engineering perspective, we can't. This is the most we can fit on the space allowed to us, despite having this 30,000 square feet. I do want to mention the other uses sharing in this parking area are of a complementary nature. They're more 9 to 5 office type businesses and warehouse. And the gym facility is vacant. That is no longer occupied as a gym space. We earmarked a high parking ratio. And in the event that a new tenant comes in with a different lower intensity use, their parking needs would be lower as well. But it is vacant right now. Again, we're a block from the Kennedy Transit Corridor. The green spine Ms. Mandel had mentioned is 1,100 feet away. There's ready access to transit options, and we anticipate that a good number of the patrons of the site will be within walking distance, as we can see from the proliferation of the residential development happening there. Comprehensive Plan Policy 3.1.14 encourages shared parking for dissimilar peak use periods. And then the mobility section promotes reduced parking requirements for areas served by high-frequency transit. Our site qualifies. Next waiver, for the code would have required 50% of the parking area to be paved. We're requesting relief from this. There are stormwater justifications. It would significantly reduce the overall impervious area in the neighborhood. So it's important that that retain a higher degree of stormwater functionality. And again, I have written justification from our engineer if that should be needed. And our last waiver is access to a local street. The southernmost structure was built in 1973. It's 170 feet from Rome. We can't be any closer than that. It's an existing ingress. It's the one we propose to continue using. So about community support. The Kaisers they're great neighbors. They've operated Santoro's since 2021, just up the street on Cass. They're moving into their forever home within walking distance of both of these restaurants later this year. We held a neighborhood meeting on March 25th. You can see Travis and Roxana there in the photo. It was well attended. All the feedback was positive. Really a lot of enthusiasm for this in the community, which we're grateful for. To date, we're not aware of any direct opposition to this project. We have 8 letters of support that when I conclude, I'll submit into the record as well. So, one of the benefits of early and often community outreach is you get some good ideas. So we are proposing tonight these 2 conditions, which we feel directly addresses these issues. The first, no outdoor amplified sound, we've heard that tonight, and no outdoor games after 10 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday. and 11 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. And actually, one of the residents wanted to call these quiet hours. We like that, so we put it right there. Next, initially we had proposed, consistent with Chapter 14 operating hours, we're going to shorten those to be consistent with what a special restaurant would be. So that would be 11 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. So again, we feel this is appropriate for the neighborhood and the compatible uses that are happening nearby. And it safeguards the concerns that we had elicited from neighbors and also preserves the Kaiser's ability to have this pencil out into a successful business operation. There is already a 15-foot buffer on the site plan between the parking area and the residences. So to conclude, North Hyde Park needs this. Giancarlo's will be the most family-friendly gathering place in North Hyde Park. Tonight's approval, it's crucial to bringing this business plan to life. One of the barriers to entry for restaurants of this type succeeding is a full bar offering. That certainly isn't a feature of the business, but it is a crucial component to the overall success. But at its core, Giancarlo's is an extension of the Kaiser's commitment to family and community. So with that, I'll conclude. We will submit these graphics into the record along with our letters of support. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Council Member Clendon.
So, if I'm correct, you're asking for AB sales in Building A, which will be the primary restaurant, Building B, which is your proposed bagel place, and then the outdoor area, which is the bocce ball, outdoor seating, and the thing that you got noted is crushed shell. Is that correct? That's all that would be AB?
Correct. To clarify, the package would not be for consumption on premises. So you couldn't buy a bottle and walk around with it. You're buying prepared drinks there.
In which areas? All?
So it would be the entire, and I'll pull the site plan for you.
So your request is for package sales and consumption off premises as well?
Yes. And frankly, if that is of concern, we can omit that as well. It's not a feature.
Okay, so go with what you were going to tell me before I interrupted you.
Oh, sure. So we have the indoor restaurant space, and a portion of this is kitchen, right? It's not all patron space. The floor plan is part of the record. I don't have a copy ready, but so it's front facing, some majority of this indoor space. This is the bagel shop. This is the outdoor space.
Okay, and so it's just that L that we're talking about AB sales?
Exactly right.
Nowhere else on this property?
Correct. So to clarify, this is the existing warehouse and office. This is the vacant gym space. This is us.
And the gym space is not included in this AB request?
Gym space is not part of this at all. We're just identifying it because we have to share in parking.
Got it, I understand, okay. And your notes that you've agreed, which by the way is very proactive, and I appreciate the fact you did that on your agreement about sound and all. Can you go back to that piece of paper that you put up?
Yes, I have mixed up my order, but I will find them.
Sorry.
Okay.
So the first bullet is no outdoor amplified sound, comma, no outdoor games after 10 p.m. Is your no amplified sound, is that period, and then no games after 10 p.m., or is that no outdoor amplified sound and no outdoor games after 10 p.m.?
It's all of it. It's quiet hours after 10, so no games, no amplified
So you'll have
sound.
amplified sound up to 10 and up to 11, and then the latest you would have amplified sound is up to 11 p.m. Thursday to Saturday.
Absolute latest. An amplified sound per the definition.
I'm sorry, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. If you're questioning that, does that language need to be clarified so somebody reviewing it will have no question?
Well, and that's what I was saying. If you're going to add that, if this is what you're going to add to a note, I would suggest breaking that into two different bullet points and being very specific. That no outdoor amplified sound, and then give your times, and no outdoor games, and give your times. Obviously, that'll be redundant, but I think it's just for clarity and for people to truly understand what you're committing to. Then I think that would be important.
Sure.
So
we can do that.
Clearer the better, because somebody will sit here and try to interpret this years from now and wonder what in the heck we did. I guess that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Hurtak, then Miranda.
Thank you. Can you put the site plan back
Sure.
on? I just want to clarify. So you've organized this in a way that Building B and the vacant gym space will provide the buffer for the single-family residential?
Correct. We don't abut a property or a side lot with any residence. There's a street and there's a a vacant tenant space, correct?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Councilman Miranda.
No, Mr. Clendenin hit the same spots I was looking at.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Appreciate
there
it. I'll
anybody-
submit all this to the record.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on item number 8?
Mr. Shelby, this was the one I'm going to be speaking.
Exactly. Is this for the record? This is
Yes.
All right, please state, well, you, okay.
My name is Kelly Yona, and I am here not only for my own home, representing my own home, but also representing 8 other residents on North B Street who signed a letter and submitted it to council. I didn't hear anything about that letter mentioned, but it was days ago and that we submitted the letter, and there were 8 individuals that signed that letter. So I did not get the opportunity to go to the meeting, and I want to start this out with, I'm very hesitant to speak out on corporate or business progress, especially a small business like Santoro's. I love Santoro's. I eat there all the time. It's the only pizza I eat in Tampa. But, you know, as much as I don't like to speak out about progress, when it's very literally in your own backyard, I feel like I do need to just express some concern, and my neighbors have expressed some concern as well. I know that a lot of the photos, and unfortunately I don't have photos to show you today, but a lot of the photos were shown don't really show the residents that are right next to this new business that I know they've said a lot about being family friendly, but being open till 1 a.m. with a full liquor license, indoor and outdoor, I wouldn't necessarily say that that is the most family-friendly focus. In fact, I just looked up Armature Works. Armature Works, the actual building itself, their hours are 10 p.m., which I would say is more going along with a family-friendly scenario. So my neighbors did submit a letter indicating that we were requesting the hours of operation be until 11 p.m. on Saturdays and Sunday, Sunday through Thursday, and midnight on Saturday. My neighbors did also say that they didn't want any outdoor games of any kind, just based off the noise. I understand, I don't think any of us were aware that they had agreed to no outdoor games after 10 p.m. And I do have some concern with the implementation of that they're going to every single night remove games at 10 p.m. Like if it's actually in practice going to happen, or in practice not to have amplified sound. And just for my own home, the biggest issue with me is the parking lot is going to directly abut my home, and I don't think that was put before you at all tonight. And I do have just some concern that a parking lot that's going to be servicing customers with a full liquor license are going to be parking directly behind my home. So, thank you so much, council.
Thank you very much. Sir, is there anybody else that wishes to speak?
Can we ask staff to clarify what the, staff, could you clarify for the, what the implications are if the condition of granting this license was that these games were done at a certain hour, and if they were in violation of that, what the implications of that would be?
Under the alcohol enforcement mechanism, if they were in violation of their site plan, we could bring forth a notice of intent to suspend. That would be the option. It would be, that is a hard thing to enforce, which would be, no games if they just stop, depending if they have like cornhole, they pick up the cornhole or that kind of stuff, giant Jenga, I guess they could put it away. It's a hard thing to enforce on the city side, because you would have to call TPD would have to respond. So, that would be, I would just say it would be a hard thing to enforce. I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else? Sir? If you have rebuttal, I had a couple of questions. So the individual that spoke, that has a house that abuts, right there, and also in regards to the letter signed by multiple neighbors, I believe she mentioned Friday and Saturday operation operational hours until midnight, and then it was Sunday through Thursday until 11 PM. Can you clarify again, you wanted to stay open till 1 AM on the weekends, Friday and Saturday?
That was what we proposed in those conditions. I will state for the record before council, we are comfortable with the hours that she had presented.
Okay,
Shifting those
so
back
you-
to 11 and midnight.
So for clarification, between first and second reading, you would put on the site plan, Sunday through Thursday, cease operations at 11, and then Friday and Saturday, midnight? Is that correct?
Yes,
And the games would end at 10 PM, is that correct?
yes.
Yeah, this is hours of operation for the business in general. Yeah, games stop at 10 PM, correct?
Yes. And may I just ask, are you okay with games 10 PM all week?
I always play, no, no,
It's not like.
you have to come up and, if you're
Yeah,
gonna speak, you
that's
gotta
fine.
come up.
I mean.
Just wait, introduce yourself.
We need you at the microphone. Please say your name, sir.
Say your name and address.
Travis Kaiser, 1329 West Cass Street. So it's not the way we're planning on making money with the games. It's a supplement to keep people having fun and enjoying their time there. I do understand the concerns, and we're willing to shut it down. I mean, it's as easy as taking bocce balls away to stop the games. I mean, it's as simple as that, and we have no problem complying with that. You know, you just want to open up a cool restaurant in a cool part of town. And, you know, we gave everybody an opportunity to come and talk to us, and we did acknowledge that, you know, those letters and the quiet hours is directly from that letter. So we're trying to do things to make everybody happy, but we also have to make money too. So it's, you know, we're kind of on this fence where we're trying to do, you know, you know, that's, the bocce is not our business model.
Yeah.
It's just a way for people to have fun and give a place to gather and hang out, and there's nothing else in NoHo that does that. And
Can you put your proposed hours back up there again so we can
Sure,
see what
I have another copy.
We want you to succeed, but we also want to be respectful of the neighbors,
no, I
because
got it.
I mean, she makes a great point.
Yeah.
The houses are right there, and they're gonna be right next to the parking lot, and I get it, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The parking is here, but how's it all here? No, this is Walmart.
Rather than a sidebar, if you could say it, please, council members, for the record, and maybe we could make the changes on the record again while you have that there. And if you have a pen, maybe you'd even want to make that a change.
I'll try to do it here so we can all see.
That'll be fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'm just,
Sure.
so you're saying that the hours of operations should be limited to
It's going to change.
11 from Sunday to Wednesday and 12 Thursday to Saturday?
Yes, Colin Rice again
Okay.
for the record. We're willing to shift this 1 AM figure to be midnight.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, just write it, if
I'll
you
just
wouldn't
write
mind.
it.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes to the parking, is there currently a fence between the parking and the neighbors? And if so, what's the height of the fence?
Yeah, I don't know the height, but there's, behind every one of those residential houses, there are fences. But
Wait, you'd have to come up, but wait.
No, I just wanted to, yeah, but you're welcome to come up afterward,
Wait.
Okay, sorry.
I'll explain. I'll
Okay,
explain.
so my question,
6-foot plastic fence.
okay. 6-foot plastic fence on that side, but nothing there. And so, when our neighborhood has done this in the past with this connector, we have asked for a higher fence, if that's something that might be, yeah, for staff, if that's a condition, or if the applicants are interested in that to help buffer.
Eric Cotton, in coordination. So the required buffer between the two uses, it's Group Use A, which is a residential, Group Use C, which is commercial, is a 15-foot buffer. The fence height is 6 feet. The maximum they could go is 8.
Okay.
If that's something they would be willing to do, that's something that, you know, would move the process along. 8 feet would be allowed by code. Anything taller than that would require a design exception.
Just
Wait,
thinking about somewhat of a buffer.
I'm not quite done. So the other thing is, could we, right now, it doesn't look like there's a landscape buffer. Could we add a landscape buffer? Or is that part of an alley? This is the part that it's a little confusing on the site plan, so if you could speak to that, that would be
It
great.
just shows 15-foot buffer with, that's it.
So Colin Rice here again, and I might ask Mr. Cott to join me so I don't step out of turn. My understanding is that because we have a use group A and a use group C, there is the 15-foot buffer required, and the buffering within the code has certain vegetative requirements, correct?
That's turf. There is some vegetative requirements. It also requires a 6-foot masonry wall.
Yes.
But generally speaking, if people request, people don't want walls next to them, they prefer PVC fences because they're easier to maintain and clean. You know, I don't know if additional landscaping would assist in satisfying the concerns of the neighbor. If, you know, I don't know, plant one plant from the next, but hedges that would grow taller, like 8 or 9 foot tall hedges would be something that would be acceptable to the adjacent property owners and to the applicant.
Is that something the applicant would be willing to consider? Yeah. You have to come up to the mic, sorry, it's just, it's the record. And your name again.
Travis Kaiser. Yeah, I'm not trying to put any blockades.
Okay.
Any, you know, like, anything reasonable.
Okay.
That can be done, that's not, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Wait.
And then I guess we would ask the, okay, never mind, okay.
All right. Any other rebuttal, sir?
Anybody else in the audience?
And is there anybody else that wishes to speak here in public comment that has not spoken? All right, sir, any other rebuttal?
Colin Rice, for the record, just so I am clear, we're not opposed to the additional buffering. I want to know how, like, how to language that and make sure that we're
I
compliant.
think that would have to be Mr. Cotton.
Mr. Cotton.
Was that we work with staff?
No, it needs to be on the record.
But I mean, that was going to incorporate that same buffer, work with the details and stuff.
We need to, you need to put language on the, that's agreed upon by the applicant at the time of first reading. You can't just have them work it out between first and second.
But we understand there's going to be a landscape buffer, is what the agreement is.
The question is what constitutes a landscape buffer?
Right, that's what I'm saying.
There is per code, and that's what they're required to do now by permitting. Is that correct, Mr. Cotton? There is a landscape buffer requirement under the code
Correct.
between the uses, but what you're asking for council to mitigate an adverse impact is beyond the code with the agreement of the applicant, and that has to be specified so it can be placed on the site plan. It can't be negotiated and staff just puts down something between first and second reading. You have to give direction, the applicant has to agree. Well, Mr. Cotton, can you help Mr. Rice with what is the appropriate note for something like this?
Well, the required code is 15 feet and a 6-foot masonry wall. If the issue is to have additional plantings, the applicant would propose what kind of plantings they would want. I heard Mr. Clendenis say put a carpus, but you know that would be something that between first and second reading he could come in with an enhanced landscape plan to show that on the drawing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
That
We've done
would
that
address
before,
the
Mr.
needs.
Shelby.
So suppose an agreement for come back with a landscape plan for second reading?
That's what I mean.
Okay.
That's, because otherwise we're shooting in the wind.
Okay, understood, thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
I did speak with the adjacent property owner. I know I mentioned about the fact they could ask for a PVC fence to a design exception. She would object to that request. She would prefer the masonry wall. I don't know if you want, I know she already spoke. I don't know if you have a desire to speak with her again or ever speak again. I know that's outside of council's normal process.
So right now, the way this stands,
Yes.
we've got the buffer that's required by code between the two different uses. A 6-foot masonry wall is
required by code, yes.
So with us being silent, what we would expect here is the buffer with the 6-foot masonry wall, period.
Yes, I'm sorry if I can chime in, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Yes, unless they come in for a design exception, it would be the design exception 1.
So design exception 1.
Which means there wouldn't be any notice.
So then what we need to do is we need to note on here that we'd want the masonry wall with the landscape buffer.
If that is something that council would want, that would be.
So between first and second reading, we'd request that the masonry wall be constructed with the landscape buffer, with a landscape plan to be submitted between first and second reading.
Correct, if that's.
Yeah.
If
what
that's
everybody
okay with
agrees
the
upon.
applicant.
Yes,
Let's see.
I know.
that would be up to
Sir,
how they want to approach that.
what does your client say?
And I apologize, can you repeat this
So
specific?
it would be the 6-foot masonry wall with the landscape buffer. That's one.
With the
between
landscape
first-
plan.
The landscape plan between first and second reading, and then the changes in hours, as we've already discussed, that you had written down. Would your client be amenable to that?
May I have just 1 second?
Sure. Because there's a sidewalk, you know, and then you have the residents and the cars and you know, Walmart closes early.
All right. We have an answer.
Yes.
Colin Rice again. So understanding that the design exception is typically available in this type of process, we will commit to council on the record that yes, they will do the wall, the masonry wall.
To waive the design exception.
So we'll waive the option of pursuing a design exception.
And this will be between first and second reading.
We'll
So
add that
second
to the
reading
site
will have
plan.
the change in hours, as we've discussed, and now you'll add the,
That you made the note on.
yes.
As noted here, yes, so just for clarity, the condition, Colin Rice again, for the conditions we have proposed, for clarity of the record, we are amending the 1 AM number to be 12 AM. Yes,
Sorry.
sorry.
Thank you.
There you go. So this represents our, and I'll hand this into the record as well. And second agreement is we will waive our ability to pursue a design exception. We will build I hate saying this, we'll build the wall.
No more than I hate you saying this. And the landscape plan.
Anything else?
Well, I want to clarify, so the landscape plan is, frankly, we're putting landscaping in because the code requires it. So we'll do that, we'll
So you
also
have
do
the
the wall.
wall and the landscaping.
We'll do the landscaping per code, we will commit to the wall.
Motion to close.
We have a motion closed from Councilman Clendenin, second from Councilman Vieira, all in favor?
Wait, before you do that, okay, just a question before you vote to close. Did you say, was the subject of the height of the wall discussed
Yeah.
on the record?
6 foot,
6 foot.
6 foot masonry
Okay.
wall.
Yeah, it was stated. All right, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Hurtak.
Thank you. File number AB 2-24-06, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance approving a special use permit, SU2, for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor, at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1509, 1511, and 1529 West North A Street and 1528 West North B Street, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date, including the change in hours, the waiving of the ability for the design exception, and all other changes between first and second reading.
Anything else? That's good, that's good. We have a motion from Councilmember Hurtak, second from Councilmember Clendenin, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second reading and adoption will be held on June 20th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. located at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you very much. Last item of the night. If we could slow it down. Slow
Eric
it down,
Cotton,
slow
Development
it down.
Coordination.
We want to be here a long time. Go ahead, sir.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination, I have been sworn. Last case of the night is AB 224-07 for a property at 1720 North Nebraska Avenue. The property is currently zoned YC5, which is Ybor City General Commercial. You see the property, I'll put it that way. You see the interstate, this is North Nebraska, Gas Works, and is over here. This is part of HCC. Request is for a small venue for consumption on premise only of beer and wine. Total alcohol sales area is roughly 2,264 square feet. No outdoor area is proposed for alcohol consumption. Applicants requesting Chapter 4 to comply with hours of operation under Chapter 14. This is in a mixed-use corridor and in the Central Park Village. Staff finds the request inconsistent. There are 2 waivers being requested. One is for the reduction in separation distance from other alcoholic beverage locations. It's down from 250 down to 0. There's another place in the same building that sells alcohol. And required number of parking spaces from 21 down to 15. There are also minor changes to made to the staff report that's located on, to the site plan that's located on page 3 of the staff report. The proposed site plan, the entire building, this is the area that's proposed for alcohol sales. The entire building is located here. Again, this is the parking lot in the back. They only have 15 spaces. I do have some photos of the existing building. Go out a little bit. So this is the location, existing site. Again, another photo of the existing building at 7th, looking on from 7th Avenue. There is there's an alley to the west, very nice brick streets. The alley appears to be usable. Again, another picture, a picture west of the site. And then this is looking down 7th Avenue from the side looking west. And then this is across the street south of the site on the same side of the street, south on Nebraska. Council have any questions for me?
Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
There used to be a pool hall at one time. And it used to be the House of a Million Auto Parts, the House of 1,000 Auto Parts. Back in the day. All right, do we have an applicant for this item? Yes, ma'am. Come on up. And sir. Please state your name.
My name is Kelly Buttermore. I'm one of the owners of the Commodore Comedy Club, which is, yes, you are right, has taken the place of what used to be the old 8-Ball over on 7th in Nebraska. Really just wanted to be here for any questions, but also just to tell you a little bit about where we are in the development of our business. And so I'm one of 5 partners in Commodore Comedy LLC, which owns the Commodore Comedy Theater. We are Tampa's new home for improv, sketch, stand-up, and alternative comedy. We opened officially on November 10th, 2023, after a period of renovation to the space. And we've been open only a short time, but we've been really, really excited about the ways in which we've already seen the community come to support our business. And so right now we have comedy shows on Friday, Saturday, and sometimes on Sunday night. We also offer classes and workshops and drop-in classes. There's one happening at 7 o'clock. I don't think any of us will make it to that one. But we're really excited about the shows and the classes and the ways in which the Commodore is really meant to be a theater that is kind of by, for, and about Tampa. As far as our request for AB2 sales, I myself have been a practitioner of comedy for the last 20 years, have spent a lot of time working here in Tampa Bay. It has been my experience that those who do drink alcohol tend to like to do so while watching a comedy show. And so the intent on our part is really to be able to offer the opportunity to sell beer and wine to our patrons who are there for comedy performances already, and really don't want them to have to leave our premises and potentially not come back to go get what they need to get. And of course, we will have non-alcoholic options as well. But happy to answer any questions about our site, about our business, but mostly just want to thank you so much for your consideration of this application.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Hurtak.
I have probably the most important question of the night. Everybody on that strip of Nebraska has a sign hanging from their ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
What is your sign going to say?
It's going to say comedy. I'm
Perfect.
so glad you asked.
Perfect.
So,
Because
yes,
there's bar and yoga and tattoo
We're
and
going to
bread.
complete the whole block.
Love it.
Yeah, no, it's going to say comedy. I think that's that's appropriate. And I'm glad you brought up the other businesses as well. We have developed really great relationships with the businesses on 7th in Nebraska, and as well have gotten the support of the residents who live upstairs for this application as well. But yes, I'm so glad you asked.
Councilmember Clendenin.
After this, my new business will be, I want a resolution that I'm no longer to be referred to as a councilman. I'm going to be a practitioner of comedy. I want that to be my official title from now on. And by the way, this is the new comedy venue in Tampa right here. You're standing in it. City comedy.
Number 1 rated show.
Or other people would say clowns. I don't know.
Yes.
That's true.
Councilmember Miranda? No. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak? Oh, we got people. Yes, sir, come on up. Please state your name.
Good evening, Council. I'm Eddie Geller. I am a performer, teacher, and patron of the Commodore Theater, as well as a resident of Tampa. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Commodore, a place that I am very grateful that exists, where we have plenty of comedy practitioners. I think it is a wonderful addition to the neighborhood and to the Tampa arts community. And I know that being able to sell beer and wine and help to grow their business is incredibly important for the Commodore to stick around for years to come, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Thank you very much. Tampano number 1.
The dragon.
He heard, he heard the earlier conversation about Tampanian. He's here to chastise us.
Good evening. Good evening, Council. First of all, let me apologize for my.
Your name, sir?
Oh, Mario Nunez. Mario Nunez. Address as well?
No.
Okay. Mario Nunez. And first of all, let me say at the outset, forgive me for my extremely casual appearance this evening. No disrespect to Chambers. I didn't realize when I left the house this morning that this was the day I was to come in and speak on behalf of the Commodore, so I was out casually attired, and here I am in my chancletas. That said, I just wanted to kind of confirm what Kelly has mentioned, her partner Justin, who's not here this evening. They are Tampa-centric in their focus. They are all about creating a space where people can come together and experience live comedy like it's never been done before. Their expression of improvisational comedy is distinct and different from anything else you might have been accustomed to. I think the approval for their application to sell beer and wine will only enhance that experience for the people that are coming out. I have been to every one of the shows which is featured the moniker Salud and Happy Days. This was something that was created after, of course, those of us that have been here in Tampa for a little while, the Mark Biro and Andy Hardy commercial, famous in the 1960s for the Valencia Gardens. And that's just a focus what they're keeping on Tampa. So they're committed to making this work. They may have done this a little bit backwards as opposed to creating the business model and then buying the venue. They actually bought the venue and now they're trying to support it as best they can. I think that your approval tonight of their request for being able to sell beer and wine will expedite that. And at the same time, they want to be here for a minute. This is not just a thing that they're a flash in the pan of passing fancy. They're committed to making it work on that corner. Of course, if you've been on that corner for any length of time, you know the Flam Factory is right there. And it's a great opportunity to go have some dinner and have some arroz chino and then walk around the corner and be immersed in an experience that none of us heretofore have probably had. So I encourage you guys to please look kindly and generously on their request, but also I'm inviting you to personally come out and experience the comedy firsthand. Every third Monday, Friday, third Friday? Second Friday of the month is the show that is Tampa-centric, the aforementioned Salud and Happy Days, and it's wonderful. And so if you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to answer them. But if not, thank you for your time and your consideration. Salud and Happy Days.
Thank you very much.
We had no doubt that you would take the full 3 minutes, Mario.
Say that again?
We had no doubt that you would take the full 3 minutes.
Well, I kept looking, and I kept stretching. I kept stretching. Thank you, guys.
Councilman Miranda.
No, I'm just looking, too bad Jack Espinosa's not around anymore.
You know what?
I know.
You know what?
He would have been the first one featured. I was the first one they called to kind of kick. I'm sorry. I was the first one they called to kick off, and I can give you a little bit of the genesis of the Salud and Happy Days. They were having dinner. I know, and I'm out. This,
Motion to close on the floor.
okay. Come see the show. Come see the show.
Wait while you're winning.
Come see the show.
Anybody else here for public comment?
We missed you, Jack Espinosa. We missed you.
Yeah. Any rebuttal? And I second that Jack Espinosa comment.
So motion to close.
Second.
No, he passed away. We have a motion, we have a motion to close from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Hurtak. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Councilmember Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number 9, AB 224-07. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. Ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise only, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1720 North Nebraska Avenue, Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 2, providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict or repeal, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Vieira. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Second reading, ma'am?
Second reading and adoption will be held on June 20th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. located at Old City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
All right, that concludes the agenda, so we'll go to new business. Councilmember Hurtak.
I spoke with city staff, or rather, Ms. Scharf did, and they would prefer that motion I made earlier travel with the July cycle, and that doesn't have a definite date yet, so we're just going to keep the motion as is, and we checked with the clerk, and the motion is already correct. So.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Clendenin.
Most of us will be going out and doing fun things this weekend, but it's just a reminder that it's Memorial Day, and it's a holiday set aside in this country to stop for a moment and remember the men and women that fought and died so that we can live in the free society that we do. And just want to make sure everybody remembers that to take that moment on Monday, and freedom isn't free.
Thank you very much. Yeah, remember what Memorial Day means and what it stands for, and remember those that made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Not just Memorial Day, but every day. Councilmember Henderson.
Yes, I just want to say shout out to all of the class of 2024 high school graduates from Hillsborough County Public Schools, charter schools, and private schools in the city of Tampa, Florida. Congratulations to you, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much. I agree. Councilmember Vieira.
I got a couple cleanup ones. I'd said I'd move some stuff from June 6th. So number one, I wanted to move the status of repaving of 30th to August 1st from June 6th.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, sir.
I also wanted to move the report on accessible sports fields from June 6th to August 27th.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira with the second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I also wanted to amend, sorry, I'm all about amendments these days. The report that's coming next week on Sulphur Springs Pool, I wanted the city staff to additionally report to us, and I think they will do this, but nevertheless, the potential inclusion in the budget of short-term and long-term solutions to this pool.
We have a motion and a second.
Can I amend that?
Yeah, of course.
And to consider, amend that motion to also consider transportation for the summer for kids in that community to be transported to other pools.
3 different pools.
Yep. That is a great idea.
Thank you.
Yep. And I had a
Second to the amendment.
And I had a meeting with Mr. O'Hara yesterday morning regarding budget requests, and I specifically asked that we look at getting funding for a new pool at Sulphur Springs next to or near the property, and looking at the reports from Mr. Mulkey and Parks and Rec in regards to putting money towards repairs. It's more complicated than just let's fix it. I know $1.6 million were budgeted for that, but at the same time, is it $1.6 million that is going to be, it's going to be. I want something right, and if they can come back and we talked about numbers, what a pool would cost near or next to that property, maybe that's the best thing to do. Nothing fancy, not a massive park project, but just a pool, because it's 25,000 individuals that go to that pool every year. And it's needed and it's very much used, it's historic. So I made that budget request, so I'm glad that we're talking about it because I think it's a well worth investment. So all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be clear for the record, that amendment is by unanimous consent. Is that correct?
Is
sir?
that all right?
That's fine,
Yes.
thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Then if I may, we had gotten a request from Eileen Henderson to have staff report on a plan of action for keeping our cemeteries clean, including, she mentioned Oakland Memorial Park Cemetery, and I just want to report on that on October 17th.
We have a motion from Councilmember
Second.
Vieira, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
And the last one, I believe it is, on January 25th, if you guys will remember, there was a nice young woman by the name of Elizabeth who came to speak to Tampa City Council on Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Yes.
It's a day that frankly really pisses me off, I'm just being honest, in terms of how she was treated from the audience. And I wanted to go to USF, she's graduated, to give her a Tampa City Council commendation for having the bravery to stand up there as a young woman and talk about her grandmother who's a Holocaust survivor and being jeered at by some in the audience. And I wanted to do that off premises, if I may.
Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Clendenin. Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I just want to apologize to her for, feeling that way and for the public's behavior.
Absolutely. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And
Yes, sir.
I think that's it.
Councilmember Miranda. Motion
to receive now.
Councilmember Henderson, do you have a second? Second from
Second
Councilmember
from the other
Clendenin.
fight.
All those in favor? Aye.
We're not in a fight anymore. We've been on council a year.
Council-